everyone, welcome to the Dill Pickle Movie Network. I am Dylan Randazzo, and this is my first video for New York Film Festival 60 coverage. This is the 60th year of the New York Film Festival. I've been lucky to have lived in New York City since 2016 and to have been able to go to this festival since 2016. Actually, my first festival movie I saw at the New York Film Festival was Moonlight, which ended up winning Best Picture. I also saw Manchester by the Sea that year at the New York Film Festival, and I've gone on to see some of my favorite films ever at the New York Film Festival, including Lady Bird, Nomadland, so many films I'm still so fond of to this day, and some films I don't necessarily love. The beauty of film festivals and the beauty of seeing a lot of underseen movies as is not having the other opinions from outside critics or outside audiences affecting your view. I think so many times we go into these bigger blockbuster films having seen so many reviews out there for things that we kind of formulate our own opinion before we even go into them. And I know I aid in that process. By giving you a review for White Noise this early, I'm already giving you a preconceived notion about how I felt about the film, so you're already going to go into this film with some idea of how it is, whether it be good or bad. And that's just the nature of film criticism online, is just you hear so many different opinions that you tend to go into the film less open-minded than if you had just never heard anything about the film and had just gone on with a completely blank slate. I'm going to try to be as vague as I can when describing my thoughts on White Noise, because this is a film that I think benefits the most from not really knowing what to expect going in. The bare premise is that college professor Jack Gladney, played by Adam Driver, he is working again with Noah Baumbach, who is the director here. He and his family are living a comfortable suburban life, but their whole life is upended when a chemical leak causes something called the airborne toxic event. And that is as much as I'm going to give you about the plot of this film, because this is a film that, while that is the main premise, the whole film does not center around this one cataclysmic event. There are things that happen because of this event and kind of character paths that happen as a result of this event, and there are things that happen before this event that kind of shape who these characters are, give you a sense of their family dynamic before thrusting you in, and there are a lot of interesting surprises on both those ends, before and after this event, that I think are worth the surprise. Also starring in the film are Greta Gerwig as Babette, Jack's wife, as well as Don Cheadle, who is another professor in Jack's college. They also have 4 kids, 2 of which are played by Alessandro Nivola's children, Sam and May Nivola, who are both incredible. And the first thing I'll say is not plot related, and that's about the performances, and the performances here are incredible. Adam Driver, as expected, really commands the ship well, but Greta Gerwig really steals the show from me. She gave the most emotionally affecting performance in this film, and I think it's a real testament to her talents that she's able to bring this really amazing quality both on screen in her performances and behind the screen. In her 2 breakout films, Lady Bird and Little Women, she has already gone on to make such a statement as a director, as a filmmaker, and I think this is going to be a great reminder for people that she's also a great actress on top of that. She had done a lot of acting, including in Noah Baumbach's other films, because, spoiler alert, they're married in real life. They work together a lot, but I feel like the current landscape of pop culture knows her best for her directing work, as they should, because the directing work is sublime, but I think this is a great reminder to remind people who may be newer to Greta Gerwig and have not seen some of her earlier work that, hey, she's also an incredible actress, and we should go check out her prior work, especially in Noah Baumbach's filmography, stuff like Frances Ha. It is one of the most beautiful collaborations between director and star, and once again here we see a great collaboration between director and star. But Noah Baumbach and Greta Gerwig aren't the only family in Hollywood that is delivering A+ work across the board, but the Nivola family as well. Sam Nivola and May Nivola are the children, as I said, of Alessandro Nivola and Emily Mortimer. So this is a very talented family, and it's all on display here. I love when we can see family dynamics play out on screen that have some sort of truth in it. A lot of the times it doesn't work when, you know, family members are brought on. Sometimes family members, some are stronger than others, but here I think all the acting across the board is very good, and you can see this real-life sibling dynamic kind of creep in. They don't take up a lot of screen time together. A lot of the scenes are with them and their parents, but you still see, even in the slight interactions between these siblings, there is a genuine honesty there that I love to see, knowing that they're siblings on screen and that they come from cinematic royalty, Alessandro Nivola and Emily Mortimer being their parents and being such good actors themselves.
These guys aren't laughing.
Where?
In the country square.
What does it matter what they're doing in other cars?
I want to know how scared I should be.
Like I said earlier, I don't want to get into the plot of this too much because there are surprises along the way, but starting off the film, there is this kind of prologue, like I said, setting up the characters, setting up the relationships before we even get to the main inciting incident, and I do think this has a tendency to rub audiences, not necessarily the wrong way, but turn them off to the film. You know, I saw a lot of audience members around me kind of going like, okay, where is this going? Like, what is this building to? What is this movie? I think it's one of those movies that shows its hand as it goes along, and I think if you turn this movie off within the first half hour, you're doing yourself a disservice, because I think the plot of the movie really gets going about a half hour of the way through when this actual cataclysmic pandemic event happens. But I don't think this is a film that is primarily about its plot as much as it is about its themes. This film questions mortality in more ways than one. It starts with a lot of conversations between Adam Driver and Greta Gerwig's characters about death and the fear of death, but also the acceptance of death and the not wanting to accept the fact that everyone dies. It's got some really heady questions at hand. Sometimes movies that ponder questions like this, like death, the concept of death, it's such a big concept. A lot of movies that ponder those things don't necessarily give definitive answers because there aren't definitive answers, but I think this film somehow gives some sort of satisfying conclusion and answers some of those puzzling questions in a somewhat satisfying way, which I was actually impressed to see. This movie, as weird as it is, as abnormally structured as it is, still finds a way to still have a definitive conclusion that makes a lot of sense thematically, fits within these characters' arcs and these journeys that they've been going on, and also leaves you in a pretty positive space. I was worried that this film was going to dwell so much on negatives and so much on, you know, the disaster element of this dark, mysterious cloud hanging above and the potential sicknesses that could come with this unknown dark cloud in the sky. It honestly is a really great parallel to what we've been going through in the United States the past few years. I know the book was written before all the COVID stuff happened, but this is a very timely film in the fact that it deals with a pandemic and the ramifications of a pandemic-like event. This event takes place in a lot less of a time period than the actual COVID pandemic has and is still occurring in, but I think it has similar sort of responses from its characters. Some people saying, oh, it's nothing to worry about, let's have some more of our dinner and stop worrying about what's outside, and then you have the people that jump to the extremes of we're all gonna die, and then you have the realistic people in the middle who are like, well, we gotta be cautious about this, but we've also gotta listen to the professionals, but we also don't necessarily know all the answers, and that's okay too. I think there's some great parallels to what's happening in our modern day society in this film, but I don't think the film dwells in that in a necessarily pessimistic way. I think it actually has some optimistic answers to give, and that's one thing about Noah Baumbach's work that I like across all his films, is the fact that he is able to find beauty in the most terrible things. I mean, his last film, Marriage Story, was about a child in the midst of a divorce between both parents, oddly enough also starring Adam Driver, who is also excellent in that film, but there's also a hopefulness that comes at the end of that film that I didn't expect watching that film. I expected that film to just be nonstop trauma and dread, and I think that's the beauty of Noah Baumbach's films, is that he finds every little pocket and corner of life and experience, and there is no black and white, there's no perfect and imperfect, there's a blend of everything. There is imperfection, and vice versa, and I think that's something that he hits on here. Stylistically, this is totally outside of anything Noah Baumbach's done before. He clearly has a bigger budget here. This is a project that is dealing with bigger, more spectacle-driven things. It's really impressive to see Noah Baumbach evolving as a filmmaker. We saw this with Jordan Peele in Nope. He's taking a story that is similar in theme and tone to some of his previous works, but putting it in a bigger, more blockbuster-esque lens, and I really, really like that, and this is something similar that we're seeing in this film as well. I think the spectacle is not constant from beginning to end like something like Nope, but I think it's also present enough to where it feels so different and like such a big swing compared to so many of his other works, and I love that about this film. That's about all I want to say about this film. I hope I haven't given away too much of the plot. I gave away the inciting incident, I talked about some of the themes. There are some real surprises that continue to amaze me to the very end, including the end credits itself. I'm not going to say what the end credits is, but it is one of my favorite sequences I've seen in film the whole year. I think it's one of those sequences that people are going to be equally put off and confused by as much as people are going to love it. I think we're going to see a lot of people saying that this is the best scene of the year, and some people saying, what the hell was that? Why am I watching this movie? What is the point? And sometimes the best movies are the ones that challenge the audiences the most, the ones that we necessarily can't agree on, but we can all at least appreciate for going there and trying to make something new and trying to say something new with its storytelling. And I think this film absolutely does that. I was much more on the fence of loving this film than I was on the other side, but I can admit that first half hour had me a little confused. I didn't really know where it was going, and it almost lost me, but then it reeled me back in, and I think it's going to do the same for you if you watch it. So if you're gonna give up on this film a half hour in, I say stick it out. Keep going, because it does get better. If you're looking for a story that's not gonna be confusing, this movie may end up being a little confusing for you. I'm sorry, but it does make a little bit more sense as it goes along. It's not a complete mind F the whole way through, like some other films that I've seen it being compared compared to like I'm Thinking of Ending Things are. So this is a big old recommendation for me for Noah Baumbach fans who want to see him evolve his filmmaking and take it to another level, for fans of Greta Gerwig and Adam Driver, both as performers, and fans of just bold risk-taking cinema. I really think this is a great film. This was a great way to kick off the film festival. It was the opening night. I'm still riding on that high, getting to see all the stars there, getting to see Danny Elfman, whose score is amazing in this, and I think that adds to the blockbuster feel. Having Danny Elfman's score just adds that extra oomph to this filmmaking, but it really is an amazing score, one of my favorites of the year. I really don't have many complaints for the film aside from the fact that it did start a little slower and it did take a little easing into, but when I was completely on board, I was on board till the end, and I really, really loved it, and I hope people check this out. Because it is going on Netflix, I'm a little worried people are just going to kind of watch the first 30 minutes and turn it off and then never think about it again. I really hope, though, it gets an audience. I hope you all watching do watch it, because I do think it deserves all the eyes it can get. And if you really, really don't like it, so much so that you have to turn the movie off, I please implore you to at least fast forward to the end credits, because the end credits are so good. I'll be back in the next few weeks talking about some other movies at the New York Film Festival. My slate this year isn't as big just because of work and other duties, including this channel. I can't go out to see as many movies as I have been able to the past few years, but I'm excited to check them out nonetheless. If you end up seeing the film, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Until next time, stay safe, have a great spooky season. I'll see you later.